talk about media agencies. There is increasing talk about the fact that they are relying on the media groups for more input strategically and ideas, because their resources perhaps are stretched simply by just the proliferation of channels. Are you seeing that, and how much, where is that going to head, where media agencies essentially perhaps may become the gatekeepers and not the developers or originators of ideas and strategy?
We see a lot of it. We've probably forged a bit with SMG Red. I mean, we started probably back in 2004, 2005 with SMG Connections, and talked about cross-platform ideas. The reality is we think it's bloody fantastic. It's a $10 billion advertising market, and the television proponent, is 3 odd. We want them to come to us for ideas because, as I said before, innovation, is what people will pay for. I think the issue where agencies have to be very careful, and there's been numerous reports on this, and like a lot of criticism within the industry, is the drive by procurement and global decisions, which are perhaps out of the hands here locally, where people are prepared to, effectively run business for a loss and undercut each other to a point where someone needs a headline, to go and say, we won this piece of business, we're growing in billings, but at the level of profitability. And you take that a step further. Many moons ago, it was determined that when the agencies were split, they would get 4%. If they were getting 4% in those days, when their task was relatively simple, and I was a buyer, I was part of that time, then they should be getting a hell of a lot more than 4% in 2010, when we do have multi-channeling and the complexities of search and everything else going on, So what they're doing and the load they're bearing, for a client is not even close to being reflected of their remuneration structures. So they are leaning on us a bit more, and they are doing a little bit more, but we're happy to do it.
What does it mean for the future role though of a media agency? What are they going to be if that's increasingly where they are being forced to head?
Well, they'll have to find other areas. They've all been into econometrics and research and content generation, and they're all forging into that. But there's not a lot of money in any of that yet. There's not the big windfall that they would expect. Where they've got to be mindful is they've got to continue to develop their talent. We were all young kids that had the most unbelievable, when I look back now, the unbelievable training programs, which have kind of fallen by the wayside because they're expensive and they're a drain on time, etc. Back end, I think we'll see a number of the groups consolidate the back end properly. There's a few talking about it. There's a few of the smart end operations, the stuff that you don't see at front of house where people are doing it. But there's probably got to be a move to really kind of consolidating the back end, buying infrastructures and those areas where, maybe a group has 4 divisions which are the front pacing with a plate on the door, but all the buying is centralised, in the back end. It's got to happen. Australia's too small for the amount of agencies that we have here, and it's just a matter of time.